It's officially danger time for the Chicago Cubs. We explain why next.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Our Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Please support the show and be a part of the Locked On Cubs community by following on all audio platforms. And you can watch, subscribe, and leave a comment on YouTube. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Cubs. 2 thumbs down for 2 losses by about 30 million runs. We're pleased to be with you whenever you may be listening on this Monday episode. I have to be transparent here. You know, a little bit of some turbulence off the runway for me for this show today. I guess that's what happens when you get outscored 27-4 in 2 ball games. I believe that's what it was. I can't even keep up with it at this point.
Well, we don't have to worry about talking about run differential on this show.
Cubs lose 2 out of 3 to the Twins that are now 19-21 on the season. Friday was a fabulous comeback win, and then 2 absolute drubbings on Saturday and Sunday. Friday, the Cubs won 6-2 after being down 2-1 entering the 7th. And Saturday and Sunday final scores were 11-1 and 16-3, respectively. Sam, what stuck out to you this weekend?
I thought Friday was the second best win of the season, second only to the 3-2 win in LA. And I thought going into this weekend, I said on the show, and I apologize to our listeners for giving them wrong information or wrong predictions, if you will. I thought this was going to be a good weekend for us. And after Friday night, my chest was puffed out pretty high, pretty far out. I thought, hey, they just kind of had a late comeback win on the road. Haven't had many of those. Yes, they had a tough matchup on Saturday, but I felt very strong they were going to win one of these next 2 games. And you know, what simply happened is back-to-back days, you had 2 starts where guys had nothing. I think they're different. I think Saturday's start was a reminder, in my opinion, to be blunt. I don't think Mr. Wisniewski should be here any longer. I don't think he's thrown the ball well enough. I think even when he's pitched well, it's felt very escapey and fortunate versus when he doesn't pitch well. It just, we could talk about that on a different show, but I think his days here are numbered. I still believe in him long term. I just think for this right now, his days are numbered. And for Stroman, this is exactly why everyone used to get angry at me when I would be so mad when we dropped these losses that we should have had, because this is just normal regression. This day for Stroman took his ERA back to 3.24. That's right about where you expect it to be, right? He's not a 1A pitcher. And even though his numbers were saying that, that's not who he is. He's been in this league long enough. The back of the baseball card tells you what it's going to be. So these big losses, when you get non-compete starts like you did back-to-back days, don't really irritate me too much. I get irritated and go back to the 10, 11 games in about a 15-game stretch that I felt we gave away and could have won, because you could have built yourself a cushion so these didn't hurt so much. And now you put yourself in a position, Matt. And by the way, offensively, you're getting some regression too. Bellinger's in a funk. Wisdom's been in a deep funk for a while now. There's multiple guys, I think, that aren't hitting the way they were. So when you put all that together, you wish you were about 5, 6, 7 games better so it didn't sting as bad. And the worst part about it is it's also a bad timing with the schedule, as we'll get into. It gets really tough. So I think that's why, we're labeling this danger time or a danger zone, because they're struggling right now as a team, and they're facing teams that you can't be struggling against, or you can get completely run out of the building. And that's what happened this weekend. And I look, I am not at the point where I'm done. I'll let you know when the season's done. You know that. I'm not there yet because you're 4 games out and it's still mid-May. But I am done with, well, let's see if they can get off to a good start. That's over. We're a quarter way through the season, and they've gotten off to a mediocre start. This is
that's fair to say.
We're 40 games in, and right now their record says that they are to be kind, a mediocre team. And they're going to have to tread water here for the next week or two until they get hot again. And that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, I think the reasoning for the title for me really is just the last, of course, the last 2 weeks, which we went over on Friday, I thought really well. If people want to rewatch or visit that if they haven't yet. But just really these last 2 games and the 6 games ahead just this week. So by the time we do this show next Sunday evening, what is this scope and size of team going to look like in terms of their situation? And based on level of opponent, quality of opponent, it is a little bit of a dangerous time. I really do believe that.
It's not a little bit.
Yeah, it's okay. A lot of it.
It's just it's a dangerous time.
Friday I was excited. I almost suggested getting on YouTube.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have done that.
Cubs opened the 7th with 4 straight hits. Mervis hits one off the center field wall.
Weren't they down 2-0 in the beginning?
They were at one point.
Yeah. At one point, yeah.
And then it was 2-1 entering the 7th, and they take a 3-2 lead after that frame. We go into the 7th inning stretch with the lead, and then they pile it on with 3 more runs in the 9th, and Morel hits the ball 700 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get to 19-19 on the campaign. You don't like that Saturday matchup with Joe Ryan. He's apparently a Cy Young.
Nah.
But you have Stroman against Varlin on Sunday, and Stroman just gets lit.
And Vegas didn't like that matchup for the Northsiders.
And Vegas was right, dude.
As they always are. Matt.
And so I certainly have a level of concern here.
Yeah. So do I.
We are going to preview the Astros series next segment. Okay, but the pitching matchups aren't exactly favorable. Okay, and that's to put it lightly, I guess, just based on your reaction. But folks, we're past the quarter pole. We're 40 games in. I like what you're saying about officially moving on from, hey, it's early, right?
No, we're done with that.
It's 40 games is a lot of games. And the way that these 2 weeks went, you don't want to look back on it as a wasted opportunity.
Well,
but there's regression to the mean. And that's exactly what happened this weekend. And how many times is Wisniewski going to throw the same pitch just right into the barrel of lefties? I mean, right into it. Am I seeing something different?
Well, maybe Hotovy will come out and talk to him.
I mean, it's right into the barrel.
How
many more times do I have to watch that, fam?
A lot of people have asked me about baseball, golf. I've been kind of hesitant.
Oh, yeah, let's get an update on that.
Yeah, because I didn't want to disappoint people. Going into the Marlins series in Miami, they were 2 under. They are now 4 over.
Gotcha.
And to make the postseason, typically you want to be between like 7 or 8 and 10 under, but maybe this year because the division's so bad, maybe it'll be 6. So they got a long way to go. 2 and 4 is the par this week. So if they can find a way to, win one of these series and come home 3 and 3, it'd be a miracle. But
all right, well, let's get into that then.
Well, yeah, but I wanted to add one more thing, and I can't really.
No, please.
And I can't really recall it. But yeah, it's just.
Oh.
I think it's like I think the way to look at this is like to just start over. Like they're 2 games under, and they are now in tread water mode again, right? Like it's just like the start of the season where if think about it, if they lose 5 out of 6 this week, which is not a unforeseeable result, they would be 20. What are they? 19 and 21. They'd be 20 and 26. That's 6 under. And by the way, they come home for 6 and they have a 10-game West Coast trip. So
10 games?
Yeah, 4 in San Diego, 3 in LA against the Angels, and 3 in Frisco. So it's like you're 20. If you're 20 and 26 after this, like you're in real trouble. So
Yeah. So appropriate title then.
yeah, I just think the way I'm going to look at it, to keep my sanity, and I have a crown scheduled for Friday with additional 2 fillings. Just
Do
going
you
to be
really?
it's going to be a really rough week for me.
Oh wow! I might have to.
I'm not really great
check in
shape
on you.
mentally or physically.
I understand.
My mom and I went out for Mother's Day tonight, and I took off my hat, and she almost left. She was just appalled by my appearance. I would just I would just look at it like this. Hey, let's just tread water. If you win a game tomorrow, don't ignore the record, because the record's going to look bad for a while. Just, wow, perfect. We stole one in Houston. Now let's see if we could steal one more. That's the way I look at it until you could come home and start. Hopefully they at some point stack some wins together.
We look at the rest of the road trip this week and also break down the rest of May. Coming up next. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to the eBay Motors My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 120 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride with eBay Motors. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. The Cubs play the Astros at 7:10 p.m. Central Monday, and you can listen to every pitch with the Cubs' hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. On the SXM app, search Cubs or tune into channel 844 and catch the Cubs all season long on SiriusXM. The Cubs are on the road all week this week with 3 games in Houston, an off day Thursday, and then 3 games in the city of brotherly love in Philadelphia. Prior to Friday's game, I mapped out the schedule and marked down 28 and 27 as a realistic target when the month concludes. You just told us, Sam, to forget about record. And let me tell you, losing the series to the Twins definitely throws off my 10-8 rest of May goal, because they've now begun that proposed stretch 1 and 2. Cubs play the Astros and Phillies this week, and they return to Wrigley, playing the Mets, Reds, and Rays in that order.
And that
so
concludes
we'll see what
May.
kind of damage they could do the rest of this month.
That concludes May, the Rays.
Yes. Yep. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, including Memorial Day.
And what are you're 2 under? So you're looking at, if you could find a way to birdie this week and get to 3-3, and then you should be able to win 4 out of 6 against the Mets at home, who are struggling, and the Reds. That would put you back at 500 going into the Rays series. So yeah, maybe. The one positive for the Cubs is a lot of teams in the National League are struggling. St. Louis is obviously heating up. They swept Boston this weekend, but the Padres are struggling. The Mets are struggling. The Phillies are around 500. So, it really seems like the only lock-in teams that are going to be there at the end right now are probably Atlanta and the Dodgers. I think that's fair to say.
Yes.
Dodgers have really turned it around quickly.
Yeah, they're on fire.
Yeah. So that's a positive for the Cubs, but you look at a team like the Padres or the Mets, their roster just feels like, we could rattle off 15 out of 20 when we need to. I don't think we have that type of roster. So it is what it is. Like I said, it's still early enough to where you go out, you shock our fan base and win 2 straight series in Philly and in Houston and in Philly. It flips everything. You come back home 500, you're fine. You're right back where you need to be.
That'd be huge. Yeah.
You're above water. My whole point is, let's just forget about April and early May. The mission, we failed. We failed that mission. We wanted to get off to a good start. We were there. We were 12-7. We were 14-10. We had it. and in heartbreaking fashion, we became, what was it, 15-15 quickly or whatever it was. And it's done now. It's done. They failed that mission. So now they're going to have to figure out a way to overcome that. And I'm not going to come on here now every show and say, hey, well, that's because of April. No, we all could agree that the beginning that we were hoping for looked like it was a slam dunk, and it didn't work out. So now it's about overcoming that, treading water, and finding a way to hang in there long enough to when you get hot again. Because one thing I can't promise you is the Cubs will get hot again. There's a lot of games left. You just don't want it to be like last year. Excuse me. You don't want it to be like last year. Oh, someone get me something.
Are you okay?
I need medication on everything, antidepressants, cough medicine, something. You don't want it to be like last year where you get hot and it doesn't matter.
Right. You're right. I just want it to be a fun summer.
No, I just want to go to Wrigley in like mid-July and say, hey, the Brewers are down 1. We hold this lead. We're within a game. Let's go.
That'd be awesome.
Instead of being, hey, somebody just got hurt on Houston. Maybe they'll trade for who.
Right.
Something like that.
So Cubs Astros probables this week. It's going to be Tyone versus Valdez. Let's skip over that one, folks. Steele versus Javier, and Smiley versus some dude named France,
who's good,
who has opened up his first two starts in the show really well.
So quick scouting
all
report.
The games this week are at 7:10 against the Stros.
One of your favorite
Tuesday's
ballparks.
Game is also broadcast nationally on TBS. I'm interested to see what their level of focus is on the Cubs, although
I'm not.
Steele starting that day will probably be their focus anyway. Maybe that's the one game that the Cubs have the best chance in of the 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, on paper, it doesn't look great.
So quick scouting reports.
Astros won the World Series last year, by the way.
So I know the first 2 pitchers very well. So Framber, left-hander, turbo sinker, gets tons and tons of ground balls low in the zone. Cubs have actually hit lefties tremendously late, like all year, but even lately. I mean, the last good offensive game they had was against Montgomery. They obviously hit the ball on the ground a lot, but I actually think that might be a better matchup for them than Javier, who's very much like Joe Ryan, just peppering high fastballs. Doesn't throw as hard, but high fastball. If they're high fastball, then complements it with a slider. So you're going to face 2 pitchers back-to-back days that are totally opposite of each other. Different throw with different hands. One guy attacks low in the zone, is just a ground ball machine, and the other guy is a pop-up strikeout fly ball machine. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. I mean, it's the 3 best pitchers for the Cubs outside of Tyone. So, you obviously would like to sub Stroman in for Tyone, but I think Tyone might pitch well tomorrow. I don't think he's been as bad as everybody thinks. So we'll see. We'll see. It's an opportunity to kick your feet up and say, I'm not expecting much and see what happens. I mean, I like the Framber matchup for a guy like Wisdom. If Suzuki could elevate the ball, it's not a bad matchup for him.
Gomes might have a good game against
Mancini. Him. Yeah, they've hit lefties, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. I
don't want to do too much lineup discussion, but I do want to sneak this in
a good matchup
for the people still with us.
If Madrigal leads off tomorrow, I'll just be skipping.
Well, here's something that I thought of about 20 minutes ago.
I'll be skipping
more like 25, since we've been on for almost 20 minutes. I do think that these 2 games is going to force the Cubs to make a roster move, and you need to wait 10 days for Assad, or actually it's 15 for pitchers. You need to wait 15 for Assad to come back.
Yeah.
So I have no clue who's coming up. But I think there's a chance that these brothers in the front office on Clark and Addison send Morel down.
No, you've lost your mind.
Well, I'm just saying.
If they're tone deaf enough in the worst part of their season to their fans,
I don't feel good, man.
To send Morel down after he hits a home run every game, then we'll both not do a show that day in protest.
Well, yeah, I'd like to take it off if they do that.
What makes you think that? I think they're going to.
Well, I'm having dark thoughts tonight.
No, I think they're going to get rid of Hosmer soon. I think that's where this is trending.
Or send Madrigal to Des Moines.
Yeah, or to Mercury.
I mean, wouldn't Mastro be better option right now than Madrigal?
Or Neptune or something like that. I don't know or care at this point. It's apples and oranges. How about get a guy that can hit the ball to the outfield?
Okay. All right. Let's see here. So,
people, it's unbelievable. First of all, I've been the biggest Madrigal supporter on this show. I've begged for him to hit in the biggest spots in the game, but to hit a guy leadoff that has a 280 on base percentage is malpractice. It's reprehensible behavior from the skipper. This team's not well managed at all.
coming up next, we review the last 7 days, hitting and pitching for the Cubs. And we do that with hot and cold next. Locked On Cubs is now on Sirius XM, and you can listen to every pitch this season with the Cubs hometown broadcast on Sirius XM or the SXM app. Welcome back to Locked On Cubs. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Who's hot and who's not the last 7 days? Yan Gomes, 4 for 9 in his return from the IL. Morel, 8 for 21 with 3 homers since his return from the minor leagues. Who's cold? Nick Madrigal, 4 for 19. Trey Mancini, 2 for 11 with 6 strikeouts. Matt Mervis, 3 for 18 with 8 punch-outs. Eric Hosmer, 1 for 8. And Bellinger, 2 for 21, although his strikeouts, only 4 of those the last week.
No.
So he's putting the ball in play a lot, but just getting out.
I'm worried about I'm a little worried about Bellinger. His at bat quality the last couple weeks has diminished. Let's do
soft
a quick
contact, right?
Yeah. It hasn't looked good. Let's do a quick, and that's why it's like, hey, when everyone's like, hey, let's extend this guy in April, let's just wait a bit. How's that? Let's do a quick Morel Mervis thing.
Please.
Just based on that, because you had him. So with Morel, I like to call it the in-your-face tools, right? The arm, the power, the speed. I think the word's electrifying. I think that's the word I would use.
That's great. Yeah.
And there's still tons of holes in his swing where he's going to have to find a way to be more competitive in the zone. But this is a guy that you really have to take a look at, man, because his power, he's not a small man, but he's not an overly large guy. I mean, the whip, the bat speed, I mean, the 2 balls he hit this weekend, Oppo upper deck to right center, and then the ball he hit today, I mean, that was a 461-foot homer. He has serious tools, and he needs as many at-bats as possible to see where he could take those tools, because the ceiling on him is legit. With Mervis, he had 2 hits on Sunday. What I'm seeing right now is predetermined swings. He's a
first pitch swinger a lot.
It just feels like each at bat he predetermines what he's going to do. This at bat I'm going to take a bunch of pitches. This at bat I'm going to swing. I'm very disappointed with the people that have said, hey, because I've gotten these comments. Hey, Sam, you wanted Mervis up, so don't complain about him. Look, the biggest reason I wanted Mervis up is first of all, he can't be worse than Hosmer. Secondly, seeing if he's good is really valuable, so you know what you need going into next year. Yep. It's early. Give him 100 at bats. He clearly can hit the ball very hard,
right?
Like very.
He's done
hard.
That already.
But he needs to. It feels like that approach works in AAA, right? I'm going to swing at the first pitch here. I'm going to take pitches here. You need to get to a point where you're reacting and not guessing, and not predetermining. But I'm not. There's still a lot to be seen with Mervis, but with Morel, like there's going to be some golden sombreros in there. But I think you got to ride it out, because he is just the tools. Like and I know it only counts as 1 run, and I know it's a low leverage moment, but that home run he hit on Sunday, like that is not normal to be able to hit a ball.
No,
that
it's
far.
not.
Like I think
it's a massive highlight.
I think the only guy on this team that could hit a ball that far is Wisdom.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I can't see someone hitting 461 or going Oppo. And
no one can do that in the sport.
And by the way, Statcast can miss me. You know what I mean? They didn't even figure out what Gallo's homer was yesterday. I thought that had a possibility to have a 5 in front of it.
Yeah.
On Saturday, and that 429 Oppo upper deck for Morel, that's wrong. That's a farther homer than that.
Right. I think so too.
It's 450.
Closer to like 450.
I think he hit like 900 feet of homers this weekend, dude.
So I think Morel and Mervis should play essentially every day, especially with Nico S. Horner
Yeah. You won't see
out.
You won't see Mervis Monday night.
Right. And Morel in the leadoff spot, I don't mind. It's just
Me
that
neither.
he's such a free swinger.
Yeah, just let it go. See if he can get things going
Yeah,
until
see if
Nico
they can
comes
get
back.
maybe a spark going.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather watch that than hit magical, nobody on base, weekly grounded out somewhere.
Correct.
I'm sorry, I'm not gonna.
Let's see. Pitching hot and cold, Sam. Not much in the hot department. Smiley had those 6 strong frames.
And he shouldn't have allowed a run, by the way.
Assad did well out of the pen earlier this week. Steele was good again, and that was pretty much it. Stroman, Tyone, and Wisniewski were all touched up as starters, and Brad Boxberger and Michael Fulmer returned to some struggles, allowing a combined 7 runs on 8 hits and 5 2/3 this past 7 days.
And
that's going to do it for our show.
No, and Mastroboni didn't throw well.
No. Okay. Yeah, I don't really understand him coming in for 1 out. The score was heavily inflated because of that.
Suzuki had a good weekend.
Sure.
He did.
Shout out to the everydayers who are with us all 5 episodes throughout the week. And you can become an everydayer by checking us out each and every weekday. Yeah, hitting a home run down 9. That's real nice.
He walked and had a couple
doubles. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for Locked On Cubs on YouTube and smash the like button for the algorithm. We always support, always appreciate that.
Wait.
Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast on the audio side. Yeah, I think Suzuki hit 300 this past week.
Yeah, I think he's up to like 270. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not what I expected, but on a list of problems, he's not my top 5. All right, jeez.
Okay.
Start with the skipper.
No, I understand. So,
but no,
all right, we'll be back on Tuesday recapping the first game of Cubs Astros.
I might not be back,
and we will go live after one of the games of this series. As we explore what happened down in Minute Maid, and I don't know if it's still called that, but I don't care.
Yeah.
He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy.
Happy Mother's Day,
Locked On
everyone.
Cubs.